Hi everybody, Keith Tanner here from Flyin Miata, and today I'm going to be talking about a new shock offering from Koni. It's the Koni Special Active, and specifically the Koni Active or Special Active for the ND and NC Miatas. This is a shock that's been on the shelf for a while for the earlier cars, and we're happy to announce that now it's available for the newer platforms as well. Before I get into that, just one thing. If you are watching this live and you have some questions, please put your questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them live. If you're watching this in the future, put your questions in the comments. We will try to answer them in the comments in the future. We do read every single one. And of course, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We've got all sorts of great content covering technical stuff, product reviews, fun adventures in Miatas, all sorts of stuff. So subscribe to that, and of course don't forget to like this video if you do like this video, because that will only help you and help us get more good content to more good people. So the Koni Special Active shock. It's an interesting shock. It's a departure from some of the others that are on the market, and as I said, it's been around for the NA and the NB for a few years, well, for a while now. I forget exactly when it was added. At the time it was released, we knew there was an NC and an ND variant coming, and we're happy to say that it's here now. We've had a chance to test them. We've got some drive time with them, and yeah, they're a good setup. So there are three basic shocks in the Koni lineup. There's the STR-T, which is the orange shock, and that is effectively a factory replacement. It's a good quality replacement for a factory shock. I don't have one here, but imagine this one's right there. The other one is the Koni Yellow, AKA the Sport, that has been around for a long time. It's an adjustable shock. It's a mainstay of a lot of our suspension kits. It's a really good shock, very versatile. This one sits in the middle. This is the Koni Special Active. It's I'll get into the name in a moment, but basically it's an upgrade from stock. It's not adjustable like the Sport is. It's not designed for higher spring rates, for competition, that sort of thing, but it's designed to be a very, very good performance street shock, street, light track, sort of all-rounder. And the way it works, it's a little different. There's some technology inside here that Koni calls frequency selective damping. And what it does is it responds to the amount of time it takes for something to happen, the frequency of what's going on in the shock. Koni originally used to advertise these shocks as FSD shocks. I think they were gold originally in the first generation. Because FSD has been used for some other applications in the automotive world, that's now the name of the technology inside the shock, and the actual shocks with this technology they're marketing as the Active brands. There's different Actives. There's some for trucks and other applications, but for the Miata application, they took their Koni Special, which has been a long time shock in all sorts of applications, and they put the FSD inside it, and that makes it the Special Active. So that's what we're dealing with here. So what the FSD does is, a lot of people think it's just a blow-off valve. What it does, it adjusts its damping depending on the frequency of what's going on, how much work the shock is doing. It's not related to shaft speed like most valving is. Most valving on almost every shock changes with the velocity of the shaft. So very fast movements, which generally bumps road irregularities, get a certain amount of valving, a certain amount of damping, and then slower movements get less damping usually. Or sorry, get more damping, but they change the amount of damping that's on there because that's body roll, that's movement of the body of the car, so it gets different damping than the little fast stuff. Where frequency selective damping comes in is it takes into account the frequency of that movement, sort of how long it takes, if you want to look at it that way. So instead of it being like some other applications, I think Öhlins might do this with their DFV shocks. Once you get past a certain speed, it pops open a blow-off valve, and that softens it up, so a really big hit gets absorbed better. This works almost the other way. It starts off soft, and then effectively the longer the shaft is moving, the stiffer it gets. So on little bumps, little movements, the shock is free to move, the wheel is free to move, it absorbs those very nicely. On bigger movements, rolling into a corner, brake dive, that kind of thing, it has time to stiffen up, and it resists that more. So effectively, you've got more spring rate. You've got less body movement. And the idea behind this is a combination of very good ride quality and very good body control. And this is something that's actually used in quite a number, actually, of production cars. Last time I talked to Koni about this, a couple of years ago, I think they said there were 5 million cars in Europe that were using this technology. It's being used in the US as well. I think there's the Jeep Cherokee might be using it. I've heard rumors that there's a similar setup in some of the new Teslas, that sort of thing. So it's a technology that's out there, but this is the only application of it for the Miata platform. And as you can see, it's available for, well, this is NCs and NDs. And we haven't had a chance to drive it. I've been driving this one all week on this setup. This is what they look like. Common question we often get is, how low will it make my car? They sit a little bit lower than the factory Bilsteins. And the reason for that is because Bilsteins have a lot of internal high pressure, and they effectively act as an air spring, so they will lift the car slightly. The Konis do not have that level of high internal pressure, which helps them be a little bit better in terms of ride quality, but it also means the car sits slightly lower. And also in the back, they have put on 2 different perch heights. And their justification for this is because of the change in ride height with the Bilsteins. This is the factory height. This is a Bilstein compensation height. So if you want to keep the same ride height as the car does with the factory, you go for the higher one. If you want to allow it to come down a little bit lower, you do the lower one. We know that everybody's going to run on the lower one. So that's the way we're testing it. That's the way this one's sitting. Why is it only on the rear or not in the front? That's an excellent question. I think it has to do with the motion ratios. A change in the back has a much bigger effect on the ride height than the change in the front does because of the geometry of the suspension on the NZ. That's my theory. I haven't had a chance to actually ask Koni that one. But this is how this car is sitting right here. It is sitting with the lower perch on the back. And you can see it's a fairly level stance. Those are factory springs. For those who want to know, the tires are our own Kogekis. It's a 15x8 with a 235/40/17 tire. So people always want to know what the fitment is. That's what we're looking at right here. On the road, I can tell you that the car has very good composure. It deals with small bumps very well. Very, very well, actually. I'm quite happy with it. And it deals with the bigger ones. I don't think I ever got it to bottom out. It deals with the bigger ones with a lot of aplomb. The body movement moves a little bit more than you do with the sports because it's a less aggressive setup, but it's very, very well controlled. One limitation that the FSD technology has is because it requires a certain amount of time before it reaches full stiffness, is it doesn't deal well with short travel suspensions. It doesn't deal well with the NN and the NB have a weak point there. They don't have a lot of travel in the rear. And the FSD application for that one suffers a little bit because it's so close to the bump stops most of the time. On this setup, on the NC and the ND, which have lots of rear travel available to them, I mean, that's the travel available on an ND rear shock. They do not have this problem, so they actually are much smoother. I have a set of FSDs on my own street car, not a Miata, and I've been driving it for thousands of miles, and I'm extremely happy with how that works when you've got the travel to make it work. So one of the questions we get is, how does it compare to, say, a Sport? And that's an excellent question. It really, I mean, that is a choice a lot of people make. The one big one is the Sport has the valving to handle stiffer springs. We don't recommend the Special Active to be used with our springs at this time. We don't think they have the valving to properly control the springs. So if you do want to run our springs, or any lowering spring really, we recommend you use the Sport. It's got the valving to handle that. You can adjust the valving to your own preferences with the Sport. It is adjustable. This one is not adjustable, partly because the FSD mechanism takes up the same space inside the shock that the adjustment mechanism would, so they just don't both fit at the same time. And also because it's effectively self-adjusting for you as you drive. So it's an interesting setup. It's taking it out of your hands. Either you want the control, you want the knob on the top, that's the Sport, or you just install and forget and let it take care of everything. That is the Special Active. And one other thing about these Konis, of course, these have a lifetime warranty for the original purchaser, so you don't have to worry about buying these and then them wearing out and having to buy more shocks in another 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I've had a set of, how old were they, 21-year-old shocks, I think they were, replaced by Koni. That I had one that blew a seal, it wore out, and they replaced it for me, no problem at all. So they do stand behind that warranty. Should also point out that while you can buy the Special Actives elsewhere, we are the only people that package them with a new set of bump stops because, well, I mean, NCs, these are the NCs, they come with 4. They're all getting old enough, their bump stops are starting to go, but these improved bump stops also help these at the limit of their travel. We've talked to Koni, this is a good match for these sort of shocks. So we include 4 with the NCs, and we include 2 with the NDs, because the front bump stops on the ND work just fine with these. So we include 2 bump stops for the rear on the ND. If you do have any questions about these shocks, they are in stock at Flyin Miata right now. If you're watching this in future, that may not be the case. We will certainly get more in if we don't have them, but at the moment we do have both the NCs and the ND applications on the shelf, ready to ship. And yeah, I'm quite happy. I thought they would work well on these platforms. I'm happy to say they do. And if this is the sort of thing you're looking for, lucky you. If you have any questions in the future or any more questions about this, please do throw them in the comments. We will answer them. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy your Miata-ing, and we will see you soon.